Well, first, James, you made it. You're in Bilbao. You made it in remarkable time, having picked up a car and driven. You made it in time for Ange Postecoglou's press conference. It was dramatic, I suppose, to say the least. What did you make of what he had to say and his defence of his kind of record and his future?
Yeah, I mean, he's been like this the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. I would say that there's been a bit of a sense of the writing's on the wall to some extent, and I know what everyone's saying about me and I can't deny it type thing. So I think he went a bit further than probably we thought he would on the eve of a final. I think what was interesting really is that the question that he took particular umbrage to was related to a piece that's only been out about 4 or 5 hours today. So he's clearly read that when he's been in Bilbao, maybe with a bit of downtime at the hotel. And you do sort of think, should a manager really on the day before a major final be reading what people are saying about him when it was that kind of speculative, is he staying, is he not, how will he be judged, how will he be defined if he loses this game type piece,
Hi Ange, if you win tomorrow night, this is going to be remembered as one of the best seasons in the club's modern history, but kind of conversely, if you lose, it might be remembered for one of the worst league seasons in the club's modern history. I just wondered if you're kind of conscious that you're walking a fine line between kind of two very different types of infamy and history, really.
That depends on your outlook, Dan, but I'll tell you one thing, irrespective of tomorrow, I'm not a clown. I never will be, mate, and you're really disappointed that you would use such terminology about a person who, for 26 years, without any favours from anyone, has worked his way to be in a position where he's leading out a club in a European major competition. For you to suggest that somehow us not being successful means that I'm a clown, not really sure how to answer that question.
But I thought the last answer was equally quite interesting in that he effectively said, look, the job here is not done, and if you want to get rid of me, you're going to have to sack me, which has been this kind of idea that maybe he's got so sick of the noise around Spurs and maybe frustrated with the general state of the club that he might just walk away even if he wins it. But he was very sort of clear on that. He kind of said, look, you're going to have to pay me up if you want me to go.
My future is assured, mate. Wouldn't be the first person who changes jobs, mate. We all change jobs. I'm sure you've had more than one job. My future's assured. I've got a beautiful family. I've got a great life. I'll keep on winning trophies till I finish, wherever that is. So don't worry about my future, mate. My future is not entwined with anything, right? My future is assured, provided, God willing, my health remains and my beautiful family is beside me and my friends. There's nothing wrong with my future, mate. Don't stress, mate.
I meant specifically...
Sleep easy at night.
I will try.
I'll be okay.
I will try. But I meant specifically at Tottenham. Is there a scenario where you win the trophy and you think, actually, my job is done here?
No, because I don't think my job is done here. We're just, I really feel like we're building something, and what a trophy does is hopefully accelerates that. So I still think there's a lot of work to be done. That's quite obvious with the way we've sort of, the challenges we've had this year, which I think are well chronicled. But I think there's some reasoning in that, in the context of that. But also there's been some growth that I'd like to see through. But whether that happens or not it's not that important right now. But I don't think, far from think this job's finished, and I certainly feel like there's some growth there that we can take this club to where it needs to be.
I mean, for someone, obviously I don't see him as much as you do. You think on the eve of a major European final that it would be excitement, it would be sort of tub thumping a little bit, kind of sort of a rallying cry. But because of all the stuff about his future, he seems quite annoyed, quite sort of edgy. There was a little bit of aggravation, obviously, with one of the reporters in the room. I mean, do you get that sense that he's kind of, this is all kind of building towards him leaving after this final, regardless of the result?
Yeah, and I think Spurs as a club have to take some responsibility for this, actually, because if you compare it to Enzo Maresca, Chelsea sort of circulated, and we ran a story as well, a source story, before sort of their big Premier League games, and then obviously the European final they've got, the Maresca staying. Yeah. And it sort of has parked all of that conversation. And the consistent problem with Spurs is that there's never really anybody other than the manager who talks about it. I remember asking Antonio Conte about this when he was manager, and he sort of said, in Italy there's a sporting director or there's a president or somebody comes out basically every game and speaks to the media. Nobody does that at Tottenham. And they're not great around the edges sort of with reporters either, and they're certainly not as good as other clubs. So I can understand how he sort of might feel, well, look, I'm the lone voice and I'm becoming the story, and there's no one really to sort of deflect that or help me do it. So combining that with the fact that he always, if you ask him a stupid question, you will get, he will tell you. But generally, he's actually quite good at, you ask him a proper question, he will try to answer it. He tends to just talk, and then he gets himself into this sort of position.
I mean, there was a question in the press conference before all that about Ange Postecoglou. Did he have to address his future with the players before the game? Obviously, he said he didn't, and he wouldn't do that. But it does feel like there's this huge kind of cloud over everything now. That again, Spurs are trying to win a first trophy since 2008. They've got the prospect of Champions League football, kind of meeting all their season's targets in one game. But there's this kind of huge cloud over everything now. I mean, do you get that sense from a player's perspective that this is kind of affecting their preparations as well?
Well, it complicates things. But what I think they're trying to do internally is use it as another sort of signpost to history and sort of say, look, this is a defining moment. It could well be for the manager, as well as this group of players, as well as the captain. Son Heung-min, of course, has been there a decade this summer and has never won anything. And I thought he spoke very well about that, again, about the sort of genuine desire to end that way. And they should use it really to focus everyone's minds on this final, the importance of it. And if they need any more motivation, then do it for the manager.
And just finally then, I mean, you've sat in the press conference, you've listened to the two players, you've listened to the manager. Has what's happened in the press conference affected how you think the game might go? Do you think that, it might galvanise Spurs? Do you think that they're maybe a little bit, although it's kind of clouding everything, it is kind of complicating what they're going to have to do on the pitch? Do you feel any different now that you've sat in there about how the game might go?
Well, I think the fact that Papa Maté Sarr's fit is a boost for them. There was a bit of doubt about that after he went off at the weekend. That probably crystallises things a little bit in terms of his team selection. I think, the mood around Spurs, that Postecoglou's one element of it, but really that they are, this is an existential, I keep saying it, but this is an existential issue for Spurs. They have an opportunity here to silence the doubters who say they can never win when the prize is in sight. They lost the 2021 EFL Cup final. They lost the 2019 Champions League final. Obviously, Sonny played in both of those games. He can address the players and tell them exactly where they've fallen short, the mentality and the mindset they need to try and get themselves over the line. That's what they've got to focus on. What happens to the manager will kind of take care of itself.